All right, so last Thursday was fun. So I didn't have a recording or anything to post because of the tech issues. And so, yeah, you probably didn't see much feedback from me or posting in that area just because I lost everything. All right, so hopefully today will go a bit more smoothly. Sorry, I'm squinting around because I don't have my computer glasses. That is a real thing. So one of the things I want to get us back into the habit of doing is that if you have a question or a comment, use the raise hand feature. Do not unmute yourself and just start talking, because when that happens, it's just hard to focus on whoever has the floor at the moment. So please use the raise hand feature and I will increase my ability to look at that and make sure that I'm paying attention to it. So, share my screen here. Get the right thing on the screen. Okay. Actually, why am I having a hard time sharing my screen? Okay. Basic, advanced. It literally is not giving me the option to share my screen right now. All right, so I'm going to move on and try to figure that out, why Zoom is being temperamental on that one item. But it doesn't prevent us from going ahead and doing what we need to do. I'm just trying to share Blackboard, and hopefully if you're on your own computer, you can still see Blackboard. All right, so I asked people to, the first thing I wanted to do today was to have you post in the thread on Blackboard for the project you plan on discussing. So one of the changes that I made is to ask you ahead of time and give you that feature to go ahead and let me know, and actually let everyone know what writing project for each of the chapters that you're going to plan on discussing. So this week, we're still kind of deciding that in the moment. Everyone should know from chapter 3, but there is a link there on Blackboard for you to actually post for chapter 4 too. And so I'm gonna get the links up ahead of time so that I can go ahead and know what the groups are. And this doesn't prevent you from changing your mind. You can still change your mind, but I hope it'll be, we can be proactive. So I'm gonna just click on, even though you can't, clicking on that number 1 for today. And so what I did, so this chapter 3 had a lot of choices, and I don't see that anyone has gone in and selected yet, because yes, we still officially need to talk about 3 and 4, and that's the goal of this week. So the first item on in this week, and I'm sorry that I'm not able to share my screen, but you need to look on Blackboard yourself. So in week 3, right underneath the agenda for today, so after the login agenda, it asks, there's a link that says chapter 3, writing project discussion forum. So that is the area that I need people to, and I already just listed each of the options. There were 14. So I asked you just to go in, something in there. You do not have to post your actual project, just something identifying like, yes, this is the one I'm going to talk about. Any questions about that? This is something I'm going to ask us to do today, like immediately during class, so that we will have writing time. And then after writing time, we're going to come back and then discuss the projects for writing log 2. So somewhere between now and the end of your writing time, you need to go in there and post so that I can get these groups set up and hopefully figure out why I can't share my screen. So are there any questions about that specific change? Oh, there it is. All right. It was actually my error, so you should be able to see my screen now. So this is the link I'm talking about. chapter 3. So what I've done, some of the changes. So we have our agenda here. And I also created in the discussion forum area, I'm going to open my toolbox over here. And I'm actually going to need to go to student view because I'm in my instructor view. You don't need to see all that extra stuff. All right, so here, if you go to the discussion forums area, I don't think I had this turned on before. So this is the area where when we're offline, even sometimes I see the hands and I'm gonna get to them. So since I'm sharing my screen, I just wanna go over this. So in the discussion board area, forum area, there's a virtual office. You can go in there and post offline if you have questions that come up when we're not in class. This just extends the classroom. And then you can post questions, you can answer each other's questions. I will go there to answer them. As we start to use the discussion forum area, I strongly suggest if there's a forum that you're interested in, like the office hours, the virtual office hours forum, I suggest subscribing to it. So if you click the subscribe button, when anyone posts in this area, it'll send you an email and let you know that there's chatter. That's how I know usually that someone's posted something, is I get an email. And especially if it's course or content related to an assignment, posting here. I see your hand. I said I see your hand now. I see you, Jamie. Jamie, if you want to go ahead, if you can't hear me, you can type your question in okay, I'm gonna pause this and he is dying here, so I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna resume my course. So thank you, Jamie, for letting me know. All right, go ahead, lower your hands unless you have a question about basically this area. So in this area, I just try to put some threads in here. That's what you call the posting areas that sort of organize the conversation offline. So if you just have general question or miscellaneous threads, if you want to make an appointment. This isn't so much for our class because we tend to see each other, but the extension voucher, that's probably the one that's most valuable, because that one, you go in and you just let me know if you're going to take your extension voucher for any assignment. You go in there, you click, you let me know. You do not ever have to tell me your reason. It's your extension voucher. You just tell me, I'm using it for this assignment, and you tell me the original due date and the new due date, and that's our contract, and that's how you use the extension voucher, by posting here. And if you decide you're going to use your extension voucher and something miracle happens and you get your work done on time, you go back right here and say, I'm taking it back. I actually submitted it on time. So I think of the things here in the virtual office hours, that's probably the more important one, because I tend to talk to you 2 times a week. All right, Jamie, I see your hand still up. You have a question or comment about this? All right, okay, I will, if it lets me unmute you. You are on camera, I am recording. So every time you put your camera on, you are now on. There you
I'm
go.
aware.
Okay.
Question. You said we were supposed to put like what assignment we were doing for chapter 3?
Yeah.
So we just click on where it said
Right here, chapter 3 writing, just like you would.
Okay.
When we were in the chats and I asked you to type the number. So if you click on this, it shows you there are 14.
Oh, okay.
So there are 14 different options. So yeah, if you were doing number 4 or option 4, you simply click on it and see what Luke did. Like, I'm going to do this one. And then this helps me ahead of time know, and I can go ahead and try to get these groups up and running.
Okay, so we just hit reply then.
Yeah, just hit reply.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Luke. I just put your whole name all on video blast. I'm sorry. Okay, so that's there. And I also just have this running area because it's the writing prompts that I want us to think about throughout the semester. So I'm gonna put this in every week. So it'll usually be right underneath the welcome week because it's just like a running count of questions for general, the craft of writing, and then the chapters. So you don't necessarily, I'm not asking you to do anything with these prompts. There's not actual homework, but it's an easy way to keep track of these are the things we should be thinking about as creative writers throughout the semester. And if you want to post in there, great, fine. So if I click on the first one, these are just prompts from like the mini lesson I did on the craft of writing, and also the first couple chapters out of the book. So literally it's just like, these are the kinds of questions you should think about. And if you ever want to respond here, yes, you can. It's just me kind of putting you on notice to say that, hey, we're gonna talk about these chapters and these are the kinds of questions we should think about. And so that you will find this in the discussion board area. So right now I'm just going back to the discussion board area. So right now you have the virtual office where I post the class videos and the chat recaps and where you can do the alternative attendance option. Mini lesson discussion and then discussion forums. And this is for the projects. So I'll just keep adding them sort of each week. So by Thursday, I'll have chapter 5 because we should be talking about chapter 5 next week. And then I'll just request, please by Sunday, post whichever project from chapter 5 you plan on talking about next week. So then next week, I should be really ahead of the curve of knowing, and it pushes you to figure out like which writing projects you may be completing. And so that's my biggest change for the week. And oh, let's see. There is, let me see, did I mark it? Because I also just want you to have a place to go and post. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, it's that, it's the craft of writing and then create your own discussions. Because a lot of times I've noticed in our chat, people post good links to other items that are related to the course. And once we get off the chat, those things are gone unless you have like clicked on them or tried to copy and paste them. And I may or may not include those in my highlights. And so it is this area, the craft of writing prompts and create your own discussions, that you can come in and give our class like a permanent place to put some of the content that you want to share. Just make sure it's related to the course and it's, you know, useful for us. And so this is the one prompt area where you can create your own threads. All the other discussion areas, I pre-created these, and you won't see this feature here that says create a thread, but this allows you individuals to go ahead and create your own sort of discussion link. So if when we get to like, I don't know, writing the gazelle, I forget, I'm saying it wrong, but one of these poetic forms, and like 8 of you love it, you can create your own thread. So you click on that, you give it a title, and then you say whatever you want in here. And once you do that, you have essentially created like a specific conversation area inside this discussion forum. So you see there's my little fake title. And then people can see that and like, oh, graphic novels, because someone created that. And then you can go in, and once I go in here, I'll see that master or that parent post, and people can continue talking about it. So this is an area, I'm going to delete this because we don't need that. So it's in this discussion forum that I really invite you to go ahead and create your own class-rated discussions, that they don't get lost after we log off. All right, so that's my spiel about the things that I've changed, and appreciating people to move towards using the raise hands feature. Any questions about that? Not. I'm going to move on. I might be near my time here. Yeah, still got 3 minutes. Okay, so on our schedule, it says that we're gonna start these genre practice activities, and there are 3 of them. So this, my mini lesson on this is not a cool presentation, it's literally just me talking to you. So I'm going to just pull up chapter 10. So the genre practice, there are 3 of them throughout the semester, and you can see them listed on the schedule. Just want to find my right. So in chapter 10, so we will be using the forms chapter in 10. So my little mini lesson here is super mini because it's just an overall introduction. So the genres or forms of different writing, they include all types of writing, creative, creative fiction and prose and nonfiction and poetry. Just a form is, you know, a genre is a form that you've learned or you're aspired to follow. So a memo is a form of a specific kind of writing, and they all come with rules. So that's what we're doing here is I want to get you've done some practices and you're starting to practice specific strategies in writing. I think this is part 2 of our text. Part 3 is looking at specific forms. And so I want to get you a head start by pushing you to practice poetic forms and fictional forms. So my suggestion is that you just read through chapter 10, the introduction, basically the first couple of pages that I'm pulling up on the screen, because what we really want to get to is these tables here. So writing in the genres and practicing specific forms. So this text that we have, you know, it goes across 4 different genres. We, in our creative writing class, we're only focusing on poetry and fiction. But what's cool about this is to see how different forms go across the different subcategories. So this format of this anaphora strategy or form of writing can be done in poetry, can also be done in fiction, can also be in drama and nonfiction. So it is a form that goes across the different genres, and I think that's cool. So you can work with one particular, I would call this like a dominant strategy, and you could produce 4 different genres from it, focusing on that. Now, this doesn't mean that you're not using other writing choices because you have to, but the focus, the definition is whatever this anaphora is. An anaphora, as my memory, I'm just gonna scroll down to it. My memory of it is, I like repeating. I tend to repeat lines in my poetry, and that's one of the things that the anaphora poem or the strategy does. So it focuses on repetition in a specific pattern. So it repeats as you see here on the screen, is the repetition of the first words in a line or a sentence. And what I like about this, just to use this as an example, is we get an example of this technique or strategy, or this dominant strategy being used in a speech, and how this phrase is repeated at the beginning, but also in this one, it's repeated at different points. So we get this cool pattern, and it's, ooh, I do not like when I can't control this mouse. No. Okay, this is the second example. And this example comes from, you know, a piece of fiction. And in this one, we see how the phrase is repeated, but there's more than one phrase that's repeated, and it's not necessarily always at the beginning of a sentence. So this whole activity of practicing the genres and using chapter 10 is actually getting you ready for working on your own pieces, because your final project, you will produce a poem and a fictional piece, and it will be in it will be used, you will have to use the forms in chapter 10. So this is a practice. All right, so I'm gonna take some questions. Let's see, I saw Katie. Let me get to the right screen here. All right, Katie, go ahead.
I think your screen might be frozen because when you were saying, talking about the examples, it's just showing Blackboard, nothing else.
Okay, yeah, then it is. All right, thank you. I'm gonna try to figure that out. But was my explanation, were you able to follow that? I think that's what, no? Luke?
Yeah, do we have like a end of the semester exam, a final exam, or is it going to be a writing project?
Yeah, the final is a portfolio, and it's a portfolio in which you produce those 2 final pieces and the process which you got to it. So, but
Okay.
it's not a written exam.
All right, thank you.
It is your writing. All right, let me see what is going on. So are there any questions? Luke, your hand's still up. Still got another question? Okay, cool. All right, let's see. If you're still looking, you can still see Blackboard, but not the other thing. All right, well, let me see if this will work. So this poetic form, this practice, I made another just sheet that you can download so you don't have to like look through the whole, look at the schedule. So in the course documents area, I'm gonna see if it'll open and show you on the screen. Can you raise your hand if you see the Word document that says chapter 10? Nobody sees it? Okay, okay, all right, yes, you see it. Somebody saw it. All right, so this is just me condensing this project. You're starting on it today. The first practice is poetic forms. It's gonna be due by Sunday, October 4th. And so for this project, yes, you have to use chapter 10, and you will compose a poem using any one of these listed forms. So one poem using any one. So basically what I did is I took the table that's in chapter 10. It lists all of these forms and it shows you which genres that you can use them in. So these are the ones that are unique to poetry. So that's why I'm forcing everyone to do one of these. You can pick any one, and you're gonna use chapter 10 as your guide. And then the next practice, it should be practice 2, is not poetic forms, but it is fiction forms. Now this one is probably gonna be fun because I know I wouldn't enjoy it because I don't write graphic novels often or ever. I've never written one or graphic anything. And so for fiction, because you actually can do, there's a lot of forms that fall into the fiction category. You only have these 2 that are going to be unique. So I'm just trying to push people out of their comfort zone and have you're going to do either flash fiction, also known as micro fiction, so it's really short, or something that's in the graphic genre. And then the third one is you have one form, but 2 works. So for that last one, you're going to have to compose a poem and a fictional piece. And the idea for that is that you're going to use the same format, but you're going to produce 2 different works. Jamie, question? I'll mute you.
Yeah, I don't know what we're supposed to be looking at here. It just says Sellers chapter 1 and 2 and chapter 10 forms practice.
Yeah, that's why I asked on the screen so people are not seeing this Word document.
Yeah.
All right, that's fun. So, but
Sorry, I'm half asleep.
Blackboard. Do you see Blackboard?
I see
up and down.
thing going up and down.
Yeah, so that's me on Blackboard. So the document I'm talking about is here, forms.
Okay.
And when I open it, it's not showing it to you on the screen. But if you go to Blackboard and you go to documents, I need you to download this. I will also email it to everyone. And this is the practice. So starting this week, your assignment is to write a poem. And you're going to use a poem that uses one of the forms that's listed in this document. And when I open it, it doesn't show on your screen, so you're gonna have to look at it yourself. And I don't know why it won't show it to you on the screen. I have a question from Alicia. Alicia, it's not.
There it goes.
Okay, all right.
So are we just doing the practice forms now, or are we still going with the book and doing the practices through there?
Yes, so the books, no, that doesn't change. This is the next assignment. So no, every week we're going through a chapter. We're doing
Okay.
one through, yeah, this doesn't change. This is like, here is the next, because if you think about it, the practices, that's just what they're doing. But now in chapter 10, I'm actually making you do a piece, like practice a particular type of genre and finish something. The practices out of the chapters give you the tools to create the forms in chapter 10.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so having said that, now I know I'm over time. So what I want to do next, if I can get my screen to cooperate. So over technology at this point. All right, so we should be moving into writing time. Yeah, I'm only 4 minutes behind. So writing time, which is what we're going to do. So 125 to 150. However, we're going to go to 155 since I'm behind time. So right now, I'm not going to put you into groups. We're going to stay in this larger group. Everyone is just muted. And I want you to get your writing time today. Use it however as you like. We're not going to report out in small groups what you did. But by the time you come back at 155, you should have also, please go to Blackboard and let me know what you're discussing for the writing project for chapter 2, so I can get those groups set up. So that's the first thing I'm asking people to do, and then spend your time writing. I also would suggest you take a look at chapter 10, take a look at the document that's in the course documents area, so that everyone can take a look at this next assignment. So just to reiterate what Alicia asked, you are still working on your writing logs every week. Practices from each chapter, that doesn't change. What we're doing now is the next assignment is actually writing fiction and poetry by using and learning different forms. And that is why these practices from chapter 10 are spread out over a few weeks. So with that, your writing time starts. You should be back here at 1:55 so that we can talk about project 3, and then we'll answer more questions about this next assignment, which is the practice from chapter 10. So no one's going to groups, just go write. All right, so I was able to pop into 3 different groups, and I am feeling like we're gonna get it by Thursday. We're gonna be good to go with this. All right, so this is where we have a bit of a report out, and anyone can start. And if that person starts, remember, if you're satisfied with their takeaways for your group, everyone in your group can put their hands down, and we'll move on to the next group. I am recording this part. Oh, I forgot. I can't. I'm gonna give people the power to mute and unmute. That's the beauty of having all the control. So,
And the devil said,
so that has literally unmuted some of you. So Jamie, you're unmuted. Some of you, what is going on? I'm really
can you hear me? Wait, that is bizarre.
Okay. All participants are now unmuted, they say, but it looks like. All right, so who's gonna start?
I will. The devil said
Give
I'll
me
finish.
M.
Because this won't take too long. Me and Zane, I think was his name. Anyways, we had numbers 13 and 14 respectively. We just kind of, because we had, if I'm being honest, an overabundance of time. And we kind of talked about like what we wrote. His was about like fault, how you can people take the blame for stuff that's not even within their control because they blame themselves. And mine was about hope. Quite the difference, actually, between ours.
And I had two groups that were eclectic. And by that, I mean, every person in that group worked on a different project from chapter 3. And they had a bit more to share. So in that respect, that what your takeaway was from either exchanging what you did and how you approached these very different ones is really just all that we're looking for. So Zane, do you have anything to add?
I don't know. Yeah, I think he got it down pretty good. We explained our projects to each other and then read them out loud and talked about it a little bit. And then we did have a bit more time, so we started talking about like movies and stuff. So it was pretty good.
And that's also a possibility. Like when you're in these groups, again, we can't really judge how many people are going to be in it, but you should have access to show your screens. If you do have more time, you can go ahead and share a little more detail. But when you're in a group of like 5 or 7 people, it's kind of like what your takeaways. So if you two are good, you can put your hands down, and then can we have another group start?
Yeah, I can go.
Cool.
Jamie Kowalczyk and Bradley were in my group, and we were an eclectic group. So we all had different projects. So we just kind of discussed what those were. And then we kind of came to understand with the help of you that all of our projects take a lot longer to write than the reader would think because they're very short products, but a lot of thought goes into them. Like Jamie has to break all the rules of writing in her project. So that's going to take probably a little more thought and a little more work than it might seem. I have to write each scene. I have to write 3 scenes to make up a story, and each scene has to have several different conflicts inside of it. So like all of our projects are a little more creative than just writing down a story and, seeing how it goes. We all have to put a little more time into ours.
Which one of you had to write a scene that would take like the same amount of time to read as it does on a paper?
That was Bradley.
Oh, okay. Yeah, one of the things I said about your group is that the projects that you decided to work on, they really seem like they made the writer have to focus on like these small observable actions that you may not normally think about to actually just produce this a short piece of writing, like the conflicts you had to look at, or paying attention to what people actually do in real time, and then how do those strategies, the thought is how do those strategies actually help you as a writer when you are creating something that's much bigger. So it was curious that those 3 were, I think one of the things I said is that it seems like it makes you an over like a focus on observation, like your ability to observe things and recreate them. Then the end product is really quick. So my heart goes out to all of us as writers who are trying to recreate real aspects of life, and it takes a lot of time. And then the end result you may not, as a reader, get, you just enjoy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next.
I can go. I was in group 7, and we had a poem that we had to write. It was like one word per line, and we found it like easy, but like also not easy at the same time, because we weren't really sure if we were just supposed to have just like words that were together, or if they were supposed to be like making a story or something like that. I know some of us, I think Evan did one about a car crash. Katie did one about her her snake. Sorry about that.
Ew, I don't like spiders.
Sorry. But yeah, I thought it was fun.
Well, yeah, and again, I'm trying to share my screen. Don't know if you can see it or not, but like, so yeah, what you had to do was write that poem using one word lines. So did you find anything noteworthy about how the different people approach the task in your group? I'll take the silence as that could be a rhetorical question. But that's the other idea, is that when you are sharing about the same writing project, to try to see, you know what you did, but what and how are other people taking that same task and maybe coming to it with their unique ways. And that's another way how we learn from each other. All right, my other group.
Yeah, that's group 5. So our group, we had a bunch of cliches. So anything you could think of, from like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, all the way to I was hungry as a horse, big as a house. So we had to reformat those into things that didn't really make sense. They're nonsensical poems. And our first big takeaway is, like, a lot of these cliches don't like necessarily either don't mean something, or they mean the exact opposite of what we now consider them to mean today. And then when we were actually forming the poems, everybody was like, this is super fun. And I mean, it's absolutely nonsensical, but it was fun to make.
All right, well, and again, a lot of what you're doing in chapter 3 is you're looking at a bunch of different building blocks. And so people, if you're not having fun, I know it's a lot of work, find a way to have fun, because actually chapter 10 and having to produce, the fun will go away, but enjoy this as much as you can. All right, do we have any other groups who didn't go yet?
My group didn't go for option 1. We all kind of like picked it because it's the more like structured option, but like we kind of all took it to a very creative like road. Like my story was very different from Jacob and Thomas's, and then Cole was in our group because he is kind of undecided, but hopefully we kind of like swayed him towards the option 1.
All right, that's cool. Anybody else? Is that all the groups? All right, I'm gonna say that's all of you. So in the participants area, can you just say yes or no? Yes, if you can see my screen, because I'm attempting to share the screen and do my wrap up here. Okay. All right, so it should be Blackboard is hopefully the screen that you are seeing. All right. So this week, let's see how well I did. Writing time discussion. Yes, 5 minutes. All right, so I, again, don't know why I can't bring up the assignment for chapter 10. All right, so everyone should be, you do have the power to unmute yourself, but we're using the raised hand, so keep that in mind. So as I wrap up, if you have questions about what we're doing sort of next, so what I'm asking you is for homework basically before Thursday, after our, you do your exit comments, could you please go ahead and post again in the discussion board area what project you're going to talk about on Thursday for chapter 4. And again, it's up to you if you want to add a piece of the writing there. It's not necessary, but I need you to do that before class so I can go ahead and get my group set up. And then this is the activity we did last week, which was the song response. It was just another way to try to get you to look at specific writing choices. And so this is the link that'll take you to post your response to that mini lesson. And then we have the schedule for next week. And I did move the writing log for chapter 3 to this week, just because last week was so much fun. But essentially we're doing basically a chapter a week is the goal here. All right, so Are there questions, especially about anything at this point? So this is where you can just go ahead, either raise your hand, or I'm good at this point just asking a question. My main concern is about the writing, the chapter 10, this document here. Oh, yes. So I hope you can see this. I have it up on the screen. So between now and October 4th, I'm not going to harp on this because this is literally the real, like, just the practice. So I don't have class time scheduled to go over each of these. This is your own individual poetic form practice. I will check in with you once a week. This may be something, but you want to go ahead and start to look at chapter 10 so you can get a feel for these different poetic forms. Again, I suggest you read just the first few pages. This is, if you can see my screen, the table shows you. So we're going to practice these poetic forms, these two fiction forms, and then you're going to have the fun thing of taking one form and creating both a poem and a fictional piece. And for that one, yes, you should try to do the same topic. We have 1 minute of class left. I had a question about the final assignment. So the portfolio, you have to write a poem using one of the forms out of chapter 10. And then you also have to write a fiction piece. And that fiction piece, I believe this is in the syllabus, but maybe not. The fiction piece is limited to 6 pages. I prefer double space, but those of you who just have to write everything, I will accept that as double or single space, though it says double in there, but again. All right, Adam, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yeah, so my initial question was about the forms writing, chapter 10 writing thing. That was what my question was about. It wasn't about the final.
Oh.
So about the flash piece, which is the second section due on the 18th, it says compose a piece of fiction using one of the following forms, being a graphic or a flash. I was curious how long you wanted the flash to be.
I wanted to, I'm not shooting for length on any of these. So for the flash piece, I believe in chapter 10, they give you a suggestion for the length.
Yeah, they give like 6.
6 different suggestions?
Yeah, there's 2, like they say, some people limit it to 2,750, 250, 140, or 6.
I want short, so.
Okay, so.
You to go over any of those suggestions.
Let's say Twitter. Twitter is the rule, 140 characters.
As long as it has the features and the qualities to be flash, or micro, I don't want you to chase a limit, nor do I want it to go beyond those limits. So anything under, does that make sense? Or am I still not answering your question?
No, that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, I don't, again, this is probably like from the writing project, this is the next level of like doing work, but it's not your final piece. So if it's flash, it should be short. And I'm going to evaluate it, based on what it says in the chapter. So I don't want anybody to go longer. I'm fine with shorter, as long as it still meets the criteria for, having the parts and pieces. All right, we are 1 minute over class. Please don't forget to have posted your exit comment. And if you want to see me during office hours, you gotta log out of here and then give me a log into office hours.